Have you ever noticed that moment when learning something new suddenly feels impossible? That exact instant when your mind whispers, maybe you're just not cut out for this? What if I told you that this simple thought, this belief about your own abilities, is physically rewiring your brain right now, creating barriers that never existed before? As you watch this video right now, you're about to discover something remarkable about how your mind works. Something that could transform your approach to every challenge you face from this moment forward. Today, you'll explore the fascinating science of mindset, the powerful lens through which you view your abilities that's silently shaping your success in everything from your career to your relationships. I've spent the past month researching the latest studies on this topic, from Carol Dweck's groundbreaking work at Stanford to the national study of learning mindsets that followed over 12,000 students. But more importantly, you'll discover how these mindsets play out in your own life with practical strategies you can implement today. Before we dive deeper, I want to share something personal that might remind you of your own experience. For years, I struggled with learning languages. Despite multiple attempts, I'd always give up after a few weeks, telling myself and others, I just don't have a gift for languages. This belief felt completely true to me. After all, no matter how many vocabulary lists I memorized, I couldn't seem to make meaningful progress. Then everything changed when a friend asked me a question that shifted my perspective completely. What if you're not bad at languages? What if you're just bad at the way you've been trying to learn them? That ridiculous question did something to my brain. It was like someone had suddenly opened a door I didn't even know existed. And now I'm wondering if you're ready for a similar door to open in your mind. What if your struggles aren't evidence of your limitations, but simply feedback about your approach? Take a moment right now and identify one skill you've convinced yourself you simply don't have. Maybe it's drawing, public speaking, or athletic coordination. Feel that limitation in your mind as you hold that thought. Because by the end of this video, you might be surprised to find that limitation dissolving as you see it in a completely different light. At the heart of this conversation is a simple but profound distinction that will change how you see yourself from this moment forward. This concept was first identified by Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck back in the 1970s, but really brought to public awareness through her 2006 book, Mindset. Let's start with what Dweck calls the fixed mindset, the belief that your qualities and abilities are carved in stone. When you operate from a fixed mindset, you essentially believe you're born with a certain amount of intelligence, talent, and ability. That can't be significantly changed. As you think about your own approach to challenges, you might begin to recognize these key patterns. Step 1. You avoid challenges. Why risk looking incompetent if you believe your abilities are fixed? Step 2. You give up easily when obstacles arise. If you were naturally talented at something, it would come easily. Step 3. You see effort as fruitless. After all, if you have to work hard at something, it must mean you lack natural ability. Step 4. You ignore useful feedback, especially criticism, because it feels like a judgment of your fixed self, not just your performance. You feel threatened by others' success. Their achievement somehow diminishes your own sense of worth or ability. Picture a time you tried something new and it didn't go well. Did your brain immediately jump to, I guess I'm just not cut out for this, and walk away? That's not who you are. That's the fixed mindset speaking through you. Your brain doesn't know the difference between I can't do math and I can't breathe underwater. Both statements send your neurons into protective mode. The difference? One is actually true unless you're a fish. The other is just a story you've been telling yourself. Pause for a moment and recall that skill you identified earlier, the one you believe you're just not good at. As you think about your approach to this skill, can you recognize any of these fixed mindset patterns in your own thinking? And as you notice these patterns, you might begin to wonder what might change if you approached it differently. Here's where it gets fascinating. This isn't just abstract psychology. Your mindset is actually changing how your brain functions at a biological level right now as you watch this video. Imagine your mind as a garden landscape. In the fixed mindset view, this garden comes with permanent, unchangeable features. Some areas fertile, others barren, and that's just what you're stuck with. But what neuroscience has revealed is that your brain is more like a dense forest with endless possibilities for new paths. When you first try to learn something new, like playing the guitar or coding a website, it's like trying to make your way through untouched woods. There's no clear path. Progress is slow, and it can feel frustrating. But each time you practice, you're walking that same route through the forest. The path becomes a little more defined, a little wider, a little easier to travel. Keep practicing. And eventually, what was once difficult becomes almost automatic, like a well-worn trail you can navigate with ease. The exciting part? Your forest is never fully mapped. You can always create new paths, new neural connections at any age. This is the scientific reality of neuroplasticity. Your brain physically changes in response to learning and experience throughout your entire life. Research by Moser and colleagues found something remarkable. When people with different mindsets make mistakes, their brains react differently. Those with fixed mindsets show less activity in regions associated with learning from errors. It's as if their brains are saying, "Nothing to see here. Let's ignore this mistake." But those with growth mindsets show increased activity in areas related to attention and problem solving, particularly the anterior cingulate cortex. Their brains are literally more engaged with the error, treating it as valuable information rather than a threat. As you continue watching this video, know that you're literally creating new pathways in your brain right now. And what's even more fascinating is that you're beginning to notice how differently your brain could respond to challenges from this moment forward. So, what's the alternative to a fixed mindset? Dweck calls it a growth mindset. The belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication, hard work, and effective learning strategies. Step 3. You see effort as the path to mastery, not as a sign of inadequacy but as necessary for achievement. Step 5. You find inspiration in others' success, believing that if they can achieve something, you can learn to do it too. When you shift to a growth mindset, you'll begin to notice these patterns emerging. Step 1. You embrace challenges, seeing them as opportunities to grow rather than threats to your ability. Step 4. You learn from criticism, using feedback as valuable information to improve your approach. Step 2. You persist through obstacles, viewing setbacks as temporary and part of the learning process. When I shifted my approach to language learning, I stopped seeing my struggles as evidence that I wasn't a language person and started viewing them as information. This simple shift from "I can't do this" to "I can't do this yet" made all the difference. That physically rewired my neural pathways. Think about that skill you identified earlier, about what learning methods weren't working for me. I experimented with different approaches until I found one that clicked. Immersive conversation practice rather than memorizing vocabulary lists. And the most fascinating part? It wasn't just positive thinking. It was a completely different relationship with the learning process itself. What would change if you viewed your past struggles not as evidence of your limitations, but as feedback about your approach? As you add that powerful little word, "yet," to your self-talk, you might notice yourself becoming curious about possibilities you hadn't considered before. Let's look at how mindset plays out in real people's lives. Consider Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest basketball player of all time. Many people don't know that Jordan was actually cut from his high school varsity basketball team as a sophomore. And as I share these stories, you might find yourself recognizing similar patterns in your own experience. He later explained, "Whenever I was working out and got tired and figured I ought to stop, I'd close my eyes and see that list in the locker room without my name on it. That usually got me going again." He used that setback not as a final judgment on his abilities, but as motivation to work harder. But Jordan's response reveals a classic growth mindset. Jordan famously said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed." For someone with a fixed mindset, this rejection might have been devastating, proof that he simply wasn't good enough. Rather than seeing these rejections as a verdict on her worth as a writer, she viewed them as part of the journey, focusing her energy on what mattered most to her. "I've failed over and over again in my life." Her Harry Potter manuscript was rejected by 12 publishers before finally being accepted. Rowling later reflected that failure meant a stripping away of the inessential. Or, take J.K. Rowling. Before creating the best-selling book series in history, she faced tremendous personal and professional challenges, struggling as a single mother on welfare while battling depression. "And that is why I succeed." Rather than focusing on his behavior, Ms. Rodriguez began highlighting moments of effort, regardless of outcome. "I noticed how long you stuck with that problem, Alex. But you don't have to be famous to experience the transformative power of a growth mindset." Classic fixed mindset behavior that you might recognize from your own experience or from someone you know. Picture this: a third-grade student named Alex who was labeled as disruptive and academically challenged by previous teachers. His teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, noticed that whenever Alex faced a challenging task, he would immediately say, "I can't do this," and either act out or shut down completely. The transformation wasn't overnight. There were setbacks and difficult days. But over several months, Alex's disruptive behavior decreased, and his academic performance began to steadily improve. The most powerful moment came during a particularly difficult math test. Instead of giving up, Alex worked through the entire period. When he turned in his paper, it had a note scribbled at the bottom. "This was hard, but I'm getting better." This wasn't just about academic improvement. It was about a child discovering his own capacity for growth, something that will shape his approach to challenges for the rest of his life. And as you hear this story, you might find yourself wondering what areas of your life could transform with a similar shift in perspective. So how do we actually cultivate a growth mindset? Let me share 7 powerful strategies that research suggests can help bridge this gap. And as I share each one, notice how you're already beginning to implement these approaches in your thinking. Idea 1. Recognize and challenge fixed mindset thoughts. Start by simply becoming aware of when fixed mindset thoughts arise. When you catch yourself thinking, "I'm not good at this," or "I can't do this," add that powerful little word, "yet." This tiny addition creates space for growth where none seemed possible before. Take 10 seconds right now to identify one fixed mindset thought you've had recently. How could you reframe it to create possibility? Idea 2. Embrace challenges and redefine failure. As you move through your day carrying these ideas with you, you'll find yourself deliberately seeking activities outside your comfort zone. When setbacks happen, and they will, conduct what I call a failure analysis. Instead of asking, "What does this say about me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Transform failures from roadblocks into stepping stones. Idea 3. Focus on process rather than outcomes. Celebrate effort, strategy development, and incremental progress, not just achievements. Break goals into smaller, actionable steps that emphasize the journey. This redirects attention from fixed results to growth-oriented processes. When you're learning something new, think of your neural pathways getting stronger with each practice session, like turning a rough dirt road into a superhighway where information travels quickly and effortlessly. Idea 4. Cultivate learning-oriented language. The words you use physically reshape your brain's highways. Replace failing with learning, use "not yet" instead of "can't," and frame challenges as opportunities rather than problems. This linguistic shift subtly reinforces growth mindset neural pathways through consistent repetition. As you shift your language patterns, you'll notice your brain responding differently to challenges, with curiosity rather than avoidance. Idea 5. Seek and use feedback effectively. Proactively request specific feedback, separate performance critique from self-worth, and create action plans based on the input received. Express gratitude to feedback providers to encourage ongoing dialogue about improvement opportunities. Idea 6. Develop metacognitive skills. Regularly reflect on your learning processes, experiment with different strategies, and adjust approaches based on results. This self-awareness accelerates growth by helping you optimize your learning methods over time. Picture yourself 3 months from now, after consistently practicing these metacognitive skills. Notice how differently your brain responds to challenges, treating every attempt as a data point rather than a judgment. Idea 7. Practice deliberate effort. Apply focused, intentional effort toward improvement by setting aside dedicated practice time, focusing on specific aspects needing development, and gradually increasing difficulty. This strategic approach maximizes neural pathway strengthening. These strategies sound simple, but implementing them consistently takes practice. Let's address some common roadblocks you might encounter. Deeply ingrained fixed mindset beliefs develop through years of environmental messaging and personal experiences. Start small. Focus on one specific area where you feel motivated to grow. Look for evidence that contradicts your fixed beliefs and create a personal narrative that incorporates growth experiences. Fear of failure and perfectionism prevent many people from embracing challenges. Counter this by starting with low-stakes challenges where failure has minimal consequences. Practice celebrating instructive failures that produce learning, and develop self-compassion when facing setbacks. Social and cultural influences often reinforce fixed thinking through media messages and cultural norms that emphasize inherent talent over development. Mitigate these by surrounding yourself with growth-oriented individuals and consciously countering fixed mindset messaging when you encounter it. Expectation of immediate results leads to disappointment when growth inevitably takes time. Address this by setting realistic timeframes, tracking incremental progress, and celebrating small wins along the way. The beauty of mindset theory is how it applies across different domains of life. And as I share these examples, you might begin to recognize opportunities for applying these principles in your own life. In education, growth mindset principles have revolutionized teaching approaches. The National Study of Learning Mindsets demonstrated that brief interventions improved grades among lower-achieving students and increased enrollment in advanced courses. First-generation college students showed particularly significant improvement in challenging courses. Think of learning any new skill as building a highway system in your brain. When you begin, you have rough dirt paths where information travels slowly and with great effort. Some researchers believe these paths are predetermined by genetics, that some people naturally have wider roads for math, music, or language. Others argue these pathways are almost entirely shaped by practice and environment. What brain imaging actually shows us is that regardless of your starting point, every time you practice, these neural pathways physically widen and strengthen. Think of it as road pavement, gets thicker, allowing signals to travel up to 100 times faster. So, while researchers debate the starting conditions, they all agree on one thing. Your actions physically reshape your brain's highways, making previously difficult journeys become effortless over time. In career development and leadership, Microsoft's transformation under CEO Satya Nadella demonstrates organizational growth mindset implementation. He shifted the company from a know-it-all to a learn-it-all culture, eliminated competitive stack ranking, and emphasized learning from failures. The results were dramatic. Microsoft's stock price increased fivefold as they became leaders in cloud computing and AI. Growth-minded individuals believe compatibility develops rather than simply exists. They work through difficulties, communicate openly about problems, and view challenges as strengthening opportunities rather than signs of incompatibility. Growth-minded parents focus on praising effort and process rather than fixed traits. Instead of saying, "You're so smart," they might say, "I'm impressed by how hard you work to solve that problem." Research shows that parents' responses to failure significantly impact children's mindset development. As you watch this section right now, something remarkable is happening inside your brain. Neurons are physically connecting in new ways, creating pathways that didn't exist moments ago. Scientists call this neuroplasticity, your brain's lifelong ability to reorganize itself by forming new connections. And the most fascinating part? This process continues throughout your entire life, not just during childhood as once believed. Each time you learn something new or practice a skill, these pathways strengthen and widen, like turning a narrow trail into a superhighway. So as you continue watching this video, know that you're literally creating new pathways in your brain right now. Now, I promised a balanced view. So let's explore some important critiques and limitations of mindset theory. And as we discuss these points, you might find yourself thinking more critically about how to apply these concepts most effectively. Despite its popularity, methodological concerns include replication issues in some studies, questions about measurement validity, and research quality concerns in early studies. Two recent meta-analyses reached somewhat contradictory conclusions. Burnett and colleagues, 2022, found positive effects on academic achievement for targeted groups when implemented with high fidelity, while McNamara and Burgoyne, 2023, found smaller overall effects when examining only high-quality studies. Some critics suggest mindset theory might oversimplify motivation, question whether mindset causes achievement or vice versa, and raise concerns about individualizing failure rather than addressing systemic factors. Carol Dweck herself has responded to these criticisms by acknowledging implementation complexity, clarifying that a growth mindset isn't just about effort, enhancing methodological rigor, and updating the theory to incorporate contextual factors. These criticisms don't invalidate the core concept, but remind us that mindset is one factor among many, not a magic solution to all challenges. The mindset framework seems most powerful when implemented thoughtfully in supportive environments. Before we wrap up, let's recap what you've learned. And as you review these points, notice how they're becoming part of your thinking. Method 1. Mindsets matter. Your beliefs about whether abilities are fixed or growable directly impact how you approach challenges, respond to failure, and ultimately what you achieve. Method 2. Brain science supports growth. Neuroplasticity confirms that our brains continue forming new connections throughout life. We're biologically designed to learn and grow. Method 3. Success stories aren't about naturals. From Michael Jordan to everyday achievers, breakthroughs come from embracing challenges and persisting through setbacks. Method 4. 7 strategies. Recognizing fixed thoughts, redefining failure, focusing on process, using growth language, seeking feedback, developing metacognition, and applying deliberate effort. Method 5. Growth applies everywhere. This mindset shift improves outcomes in education, work, relationships, and parenting. Method 6. Balance is important. While powerful, mindset is one factor among many, not a magic solution that overshadows systemic factors or resource needs. Method 7. The yet. Power. Adding this simple word to your self-talk creates space for growth where none seemed possible before. As we come full circle, I hope you're seeing yourself differently now, recognizing that many of the limitations you've accepted about yourself might be more flexible than you realized. I'd like to invite you to try an experiment this week. Choose that one area you identified earlier, that skill or ability you've told yourself you just don't have, and approach it with a growth mindset. Add yet to your self-talk. Focus on the process rather than immediate results and celebrate the small steps of progress. As this video comes to a close, take a moment to notice what's shifted in your understanding. Perhaps you're seeing challenges differently now, or recognizing how your own beliefs have been shaping your brain's physical structure. The next time you face a difficult task, remember what you've learned today about your brain's incredible capacity for growth. I've created a free growth mindset worksheet that walks you through these strategies in more detail. You'll find it in the description below. It includes daily reflection prompts, a fixed-to-growth thought reframing template, and a 30-day challenge calendar. Remember, your mindset isn't who you are. It's how you're thinking in this moment, and that can change. The journey toward a growth mindset isn't about never having fixed thoughts. It's about getting better at recognizing and reshaping them over time. I'd love to hear about your mindset shift experiment. Share your experience in the comments below, and let's continue this conversation. Until next time, keep growing